Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Health Care. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place where we invite amazing mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them and what it can mean for you. We'll be practicing together and then giving you a chance to let us know what's on your mind. I'm John Roberts. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 2020. Today is known as Ada Lovelace Day in honor of the 19th century English mathematician and writer, born in 1815, died in 1852. Ada Lovelace was the daughter of the Romantic poet Lord Byron, and in order to ensure Ada did not fall prey to the same poetical temperament which afflicted her father, Ada's mother made sure she received intensive instruction in science and mathematics. Lovelace's mentor was Charles Babbage, who had invented a machine for performing mathematical calculations, which is often thought of as a proto-computer. Ada Lovelace's writings on Babbage's machine went far beyond what he himself had speculated it might be able to do. Lovelace, for example, sought to explore whether the machine could be programmed to follow a series of instructions, and for that reason, she is often considered to be the first computer programmer. Lovelace is said to have said the following, quote, "I never am really satisfied that I understand anything, because understand it well as I may, my comprehension can only be an infinitesimal fraction of all I want to understand about the many connections and relations which occur to me," end quote. For those of us seeking in our lives to be mindful, it is worth remembering that there is no end to what can be understood as long as we direct our attention towards what's being presented to us with open hearts and open senses. Each of us in each moment stands at the intersection of connections and relations begging to be investigated and understood. Joining me today is someone with whom I am always eager to waltz amidst the web of interconnectivity, Zeenat Potia, a mindfulness instructor who has lent her immeasurable talents to Cambridge Insight Meditation Center, Cambridge Health Alliance, eMindful, and Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's own mindfulness program. Good morning to you, Zeenat.
Hi, John. A pleasure to be here, and hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So, Zeenat, let me begin by asking you a question which I've been asking all of our instructors this season. What is the most important piece of advice you received when you first started meditating?
John, that's a tough one. That's like asking me to choose my favorite child, but that's it again.
That's the next question.
So I would say something that has stayed with me for a long time is this guidance that we're not practicing to get somewhere, but we're practicing to know how it is to really be here. And part of what that has meant for me is a translation I once heard of the word courage as reclaiming one's heart. And so learning how to allow whatever arises in the present moment with kindness and to tune into the resistance or the barriers that are also arising due to habit or conditioning or past trauma. And then I like to ask this simple question: can I make room for? Can I make room for? And sometimes the answer is a flat no, and that's okay. But in the asking, something shifts. There is more of a refining of our present moment awareness.
That is beautiful. What a wonderful way to begin. Thank you, Zeenat. So in a moment, I will invite Zeenat to lead us in a 10-minute guided meditation. After that, we'll be taking some Q&A, and we would love to have your own questions be a part of that. So please do take a moment to open up the chat box located at the bottom of your screen. Use it to send us any questions or comments you might have, whenever you might have them, as a way to prime our typing muscles. Zeenat, is there anything that you'd like to ask the folks at home to chat in with us about as we're getting started here?
I'd be curious to know just how the inner weather is today for folks who are here. Here in New England, as John knows, it's quite a rainy fall, overcast, windy day. So a lot of weather going on outside. And so just tuning in to the inner landscape and sharing what's most alive for you right now.
All right. What is alive for you within your inner weather today? While folks are thinking and typing, please know that we're grateful to have you joining us and joining each other in our virtual coffee house this morning. Do keep in mind that only Zeenat and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, please know that we do read and value them all. And as we close today, which will be right around 9 a.m., I'll mention even more ways that you can keep in touch with us. So, all right, some things coming in here. Somebody says they are stressed today over all I have to do in the next few days. Somebody says they're appreciating the gentle rain, letting myself be washed by it. See, that's a good way to deal with the rain. Somebody says they're feeling stressed. Somebody says they're feeling a sense of resistance. Someone says their inner weather is foggy. This person just came back from a long weekend, and so those are the wages of these long weekends. Someone says they're feeling calm. Another person says the fall allergies are creating a bit of a storm within. Someone says my mind seems to be jumping busily from thing to thing to thing, and my body seems to be following. Someone else, gratitude and joy from a very good night's sleep. That can make all the difference. And somebody says they're wrestling with all the uncertainty. Thank you everyone for sharing. It's great to hear all that from you this morning. So Zeenat, as a kind of preamble to your guided meditation this morning, I'd like to pose a question to you if I may. As you know, I have a young son, just 7.5 weeks old, and because I'm a bit of a nerd, I've been trying to understand the emotional life of my child through science. Alan Shore, who is a developmental neuroscientist at UCLA, has written about the importance of simply spending time with one's child in a very physically present kind of way. Shore wrote, quote, "What a primary caregiver is doing in being with the child is allowing the child to feel and identify in their own body different emotional states. By having a caregiver simply be with them while they feel emotions and have experiences, the baby learns how to be," end quote. And this struck me as being so resonant with mindfulness practice. If we think of ourselves as our own primary caregivers, as the primary caregivers for our own well-being, and if we take time then to simply be with ourselves when we're having emotions and experiences, then we may in fact become better at contextualizing and managing those emotions and experiences. I'm wondering if you could speak to that as a way of opening us up to your guided meditation this morning.
Beautiful question. And one that similar to one that I know I had when I was pregnant, which was a moment of panic, talking with my therapist saying, well, how will I know what to do when the baby's here? And her advice was very much aligned with mindfulness practice, which was follow the child, she will guide you. And follow the child comes also from Maria Montessori. And so for practice, I translate that to bearing witness. You know, our roles as parents, as caregivers, as co-workers, as citizens of the world often just has to do with stepping back and beholding. This phrase, again, I'll repeat it, of bearing witness. And if we can put down the judgments, put down the impulses to fix, control, change, and simply be with, then everything can open up to us. The possibilities begin to arise. And so with that in mind, let's transition to a practice of bearing witness to our present moment experience. So please, coming into an upright posture, letting the spine just be upright the way it naturally is. It's naturally curved. The shoulders draping down, very relaxed. Head and neck as if you were looking straight ahead. And then the invitation is to close the eyes. So arriving here in this moment of stillness, of quiet contemplation. And we arrive gently. We learn to transition with ease. Some of us like to stomp around or open doors with great urgency. And so just noticing that impulse and softening. Feeling the contact of your feet on the ground, connecting to the earth element that's here, that's secure, stable, steadying. And all of the turbulence with the inner weather, our mental and emotional states, there's always this steadying presence here, the gravity, the earth, and we can connect to it if we remember. So we root down. And in that rooting, we can begin to just let the body soften and relax as much as is possible for you. So especially the eyes and muscles around the eyes, the front line of the body, the throat, the chest, the abdomen. Any tightening or gripping can be unclenched, can be released. And then bringing your present moment awareness, fully embodying this commitment to bearing witness to whatever arises right now. Thinking, emotions, planning, worries, memories. And then keep returning to the presence of this body sitting upright and breathing. Seeing whatever arises, bearing witness, and keep putting down the impulse, or the impulses, I should say, to change, fix, or control. And recognizing the impulses with an attitude of friendliness, not irritation or judgment or shame or this shouldn't be happening. Gentleness, as if you were soothing a puppy. Trusting that in the bearing witness, discernment and wisdom naturally arise. Bearing witness is not a passive stance. In fact, it is an incredibly empowered place to be, place to commit to being. If the mind is elsewhere, gently, kindly connecting once again to the here and now. That could mean observing the breath, feeling the feet on the ground once again. And another way to describe, as we near the last few minutes of practice, last couple of minutes, is loving gaze. Bearing witness is to offer one's loving gaze. It's not cold vigilance, but there is a softness, a warmth, an equanimity with the loving gaze of mindfulness practice. And if you like, for the last minute or so, you can drop in this phrase, may I be well. Just dropping it in like a medicine dropper. And then listening for an ancient echo, may I be well. You can offer it to a specific challenge that might be arising in this moment. May I be well with this anxiety, or may I be well with this back pain, or simply may I be well. Wishes for ease, for safety, for well-being. Reclaiming one's heart and mind from the busyness, the preoccupations, the weight of the world. We have the ability to do that in our moment-to-moment experience. Being awake, being aware is not a watershed moment. It's to be discovered in our moment-to-moment unfolding of our lives. May you be well. And now thank you for your practice. And please beginning to transition as we come out of the sitting, as you open the eyes, taking a moment to look around your space, to practice mindful seeing, feeling free to move your body, do some stretches, and take some deeper breaths. I think really good to honor transitions and make that part of your life experience. So thank you once again. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Zeenat. Oh, by the way, I have to say that is about the best. Was that a real bell? Was that that's about the best bell in terms of not maxing out the microphone? I don't know what you did, but it was the right tone, I think. I also want to say that I am awash in the quotability of your teaching so far. I wish I had a notebook here. I'll be rewatching this session later but what has stuck out is the idea of standing back and beholding. Stand back and behold. This is going to be my watch phrase for the rest of the day, I think. But let me ask you a question, if I may, following up on this practice. Something that I've always wondered about, and I struggle with. Why is it so often so hard for us to be good caregivers to ourselves? And how can we be better caregivers for ourselves and our own well-being?
What an interesting, complex question. And I think just in hearing you ask it, I can sense in my own body a recognizing of that truth, that it's much easier for me to offer caregiving and compassion and kindness to others in my life than it is to myself. And I think, everyone's journey and everyone's answer would be different. But I would pose it to say that a lot of it has to do with cultural conditioning, and how from a very young age we're trained to be so externally focused. And some of it is just psychobiology. It's how human beings have evolved to survive in the wild and to be tuned to our external environment. And we're getting a lot of feedback from others of how to be and how to act and where to go and what to do, etc., that we lose this connection with our own inner voice, our inner guide, and then we just become a little bit confused. And so this practice has been enormously helpful in unlearning some of those habits, and then really learning to pay attention to what one's innermost needs are. So it's not so much dependent on external feedback. There is in a particular strain of teachings, there are these teachings around the worldly winds, and they describe them, things like praise and blame, failure and success, pleasure and pain, and how if we're not present, if we're not mindful, we keep kind of being buffeted by these winds, which are external conditions that are forever changing. And so learning to soften and invest time and energy and effort in taking up these practices of self-compassion and loving kindness as a way of caring for one's own heart and mind and body, hugely important.
I'm loving hearing you sort of refer to what I think of as the nature and nurture argument, and that we come into this world dragging a lot of stuff with us, but we can still nurture who we are in the world in order to maybe not deprogram, but nuance some of that natural programming in order to live our best lives. So we're not enslaved to all of our natural impulses to be distracted or to ignore, but instead that we can nurture ourselves to turn those natural impulses towards being attentive, being more compassionate. So folks at home, I want to make sure that everyone feels very welcome and encouraged to ask Zeenat any questions you may have using the chat box. Before we go further though, forgive me for interrupting with a quick announcement. If you were with us at our session on Friday, you'll know that we're considering changing the days of these sessions from Tuesdays and Fridays to Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'd love to know your opinion related to making that change. And so as you're dropping us questions in the chat box, please do also let us know whether you think that changing the Friday sessions to Thursdays would be a good thing, a bad thing, or of no real consequence to you either way. So thank you for that. All right, so Zeenat, if I may interject another question of my own, it is my most burning question. It is simply, how do you do it? How do you manage to meditate when you have small children? Because I am struggling and I need advice.
Oh, John, it gets easier. The early months are very demanding, one can say. I think that part of my journey as a parent has been guided by John Kabat-Zinn's famous line that parenting is the best monastery of practice one could enter. And so really seeing, making mindfulness practice as part of daily life practice. Yes, the form of practice is very, very important and cannot be overemphasized. And so I try to steal time for that as best as I can. I was told by a senior teacher who used to be a single mom and raised her kids by herself, that she would practice an hour and a half in the morning before her kids woke up and an hour and a half at night after they went to bed every single day. 3 hours of formal practice, which might involve waking up at 4 a.m. That doesn't work for me. So I watch them and I see how present they are to their environment, and then I just keep tuning in to the present moment as I'm going through the mundane activities of my day. And that is actually the primary way I'm practicing right now, daily life practice.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned John Kabat-Zinn, because his son, Will Kabat-Zinn, is also quite a well-known and well-respected mindfulness teacher. So he did do something right there. So that's you can always take John's advice in that regard, at least. So let me ask you this question, if I could. So to what extent do your children recognize you as being a mindful person? And let me sort of rephrase that right away. Do your children understand mindfulness as a complementary part of their lives, or is it something that you've woven into the fabric of their lives to such a degree that it is simply a part of the warp and weft of who they are and how you live together?
I think it's happened organically. It's pretty woven in. They've gone to mindfulness classes since they were very, very young. I attended meditation retreats when I was pregnant with them. So I feel like they've had a very early inculcation into practice, and they teach me. So I noticed that if I do something unskillful, they actually offer me my own teachings back in return. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way of, I'm learning from them all the time.
Can I, without getting too personal, can I ask maybe the last time that, let's see, they sort of taught you something in that regard?
I think that when I lose my cool sometimes or experience loss and I'm experiencing emotion, I'll have the older one will say, "Oh, remember, everything changes."
Are you like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that"? Now you're just turning it back around on me.
Sometimes I do regret it.
Well, I mean, because I get this, because living with adults are very good at hiding their emotions. My baby is not. And so when I do something he doesn't like the intensity of the emotion on his face, there's no way to deny it. I mean, it's just like right in the heart, And,
yep, I feel like this is an equation. Babies equal pure consciousness.
That's right.
You can see it in the clear eyes, the clarity of the eyes.
Well, Zeenat, I always hate to bring us around to the closing moments, but that is what life brings us. So Mind the Moment will be back with you this Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, if you have any questions for our experts that we did not get to here, or if you think of any later in the week, please send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, or feel free to leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. Now, you can find the links to these sessions and other free wellness sessions which Harvard Pilgrim offers. Those include yoga classes, Zumba classes, and health and wellness webinars for adults and kids alike at harvardpilgrim.org/livingwellatHome. On that page, you'll also have the option to add any of these sessions to your iCal or Outlook calendar. Please check out the free resources around mindfulness and pain management, which we're offering through a partnership with our friends at Mindful Magazine. Those resources can be found at mindful.org/pain. You can check out what we've been up to on Facebook, facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and interviews which we conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. A final word from Ada Lovelace, if I may, who by tradition is said to have said, quote, "I don't wish to be without my brains, though they doubtless interfere with a blind faith, which would be very comfortable," end quote. May we all have such enduring faith in our brains, our wisdom, our rationality. Doing so somehow seems more important with each passing day, even if keeping such faith can sometimes be quite inconvenient. Zeenat, thank you for filling me with good brain food through your guidance this morning. You warned me you did not have a good answer to my recent closing question, what your theme song for your mindfulness practice would be this week. I've chosen one for you. It's "You Can Make It If You Try" by Sly and the Family Stone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Any final words for the folks watching?
Thank you, John. Just may you be well.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you soon. Please do have a momentous day.